A person's greatness does not come from money, clothes, or power. It begins in the mind. If your thoughts are strong, your life can become strong. History shows this many times. Great leaders, inventors, and dreamers first had powerful thoughts before they built their success. But then a question comes. If thoughts are so powerful, why do so many people remain poor, tired, and hopeless? Maybe this story will help us see the answer. It was early morning at the biggest railway station in the city. The air was heavy and warm. You could smell smoke from the trains, fried snacks from the food sellers, and the sharp scent of iron from the tracks. Everywhere was noise. A train whistled loudly. A seller shouted about tea. Children cried, and people called out to their families before boarding. The station was alive, full of motion, full of sound. And yet in one quiet corner, there was a man who seemed invisible. Most people had walked past him so many times that their eyes no longer noticed. His clothes were torn and covered with dust. His beard was long and messy. His face showed deep lines from years of worry and hunger. He sat on the floor with an old tin cup, asking strangers for coins. This was his life. Each day he stretched out his hand. Sometimes someone dropped a coin. Sometimes they ignored him. To him, life felt like an endless gray tunnel, with only the sound of coins as the rare light inside the darkness. One day, while moving slowly along the platform, he noticed a man stepping down from a train. This man was different. His clothes were clean, his shoes shined, his back was straight. He walked with quiet power, as if nothing could break his confidence. The beggar thought, this man must be rich. Surely he will give me more than others. He walked up to him, stretched out his hand, and whispered, "Please, sir, spare some change." The businessman stopped. His eyes did not show pity, but calm curiosity. He looked at the beggar for a long second, then asked, "Do you always just take? Have you ever given anything to anyone?" The beggar froze. No one had ever asked him this question. He stammered, "Sir, I'm just a beggar. I live by asking. I have nothing to give." The businessman smiled a little. His voice was firm but kind. "If you believe you have nothing to give, then you also have no right to ask. I am a businessman. I believe in exchange. If you can give me something, then I can give you something in return. But if you have nothing, then I cannot give you anything." Without another word, he stepped onto the train. Steam rose, the whistle blew, and soon he was gone. The beggar stood there, shocked. Those words hit him harder than any insult he had ever heard. He was used to being ignored. He was used to being mocked, but this was different. The man had not insulted him. He had not shouted at him. He had told him something true, and the truth stung. That night, the beggar lay on the cold floor of the station, looking up at the cracked ceiling. He could not sleep. The words repeated in his mind. If you believe you have nothing to give, then you cannot ask. What do I have to give, he wondered. I am nothing. I have nothing. But another thought, small and quiet, rose inside him. Maybe that is not true. For 2 whole days, he did not stretch out his hand. He sat quietly, thinking, turning the words again and again in his mind, like a stone rubbed smooth by water. He remembered the businessman's calm face, his steady voice. Something inside him was unsettled. On the 3rd day, while sitting near the tracks, he noticed something he had never cared to see before. A small patch of wildflowers had pushed through the stones by the rail. Tiny yellow, white, and purple flowers, moving softly in the warm wind. They were fragile, yet alive and bright. For a long time, he stared at them. Then an idea came. What if I give people these flowers when they give me money? At least then, I will not be only taking. I'll be giving something back. With careful hands, he picked a few blossoms and held them like treasure. He went back to his usual spot. A man passed, dropped a coin into his cup, and turned to walk away. The beggar smiled, a rare, awkward smile, and offered a flower in return. The man stopped, surprised. Then he smiled too, took the flower and said, "Thank you." Another person gave a coin. Again, he gave a flower. This time the person laughed softly, touched by the gesture. Soon he saw more smiles, more thank yous. For the first time, he felt different. He was not only taking, He was giving. It felt good. Days became weeks. Something surprising happened. People began to notice him more. Some looked for him on purpose. They wanted the small joy of receiving a flower with their coin. He realized something important. When he had flowers, people gave more. When he ran out, they gave less. It's true, he thought. People don't just want to give out of pity. They want to receive something in return. This is exchange. One afternoon, as he was giving flowers, he saw the businessman again. His heart raced. He picked a flower and ran forward. "Sir," he said with excitement, "today I have something to give. If you give me money, I will give you flowers." The businessman studied him, then smiled, gave him money, accepted the flowers, and said, "Now you understand. Today you are no longer only a beggar, you're a businessman." The train pulled away, leaving the beggar holding the flowers in his hands. The words lit a fire in him. That night he could not sleep again, but this time his thoughts were not heavy. They were bright. "I am not begging anymore," he whispered to himself. "I'm trading. I am giving something. I am not only a beggar. I am a businessman." 6 months later, at the same station full of noise and life, two men met again. The businessman still wore his sharp suit, but the beggar was changed. His hair was cut, his clothes were clean, and his hands were rough from work, not from idleness. In his arms he carried baskets of flowers bright, colorful, full of fragrance. The businessman looked at him with surprise. "Do I know you?" The man smiled. "Yes, sir. We met here twice before. First when you refused to give me money, then when you bought flowers from me." The businessman's eyes opened wide. "Wait, you were the beggar?" The man laughed warmly. "Yes, that was me. But not anymore. Today, I run a flower business. I sell to shops, hotels, and weddings. I travel to grow it more." The businessman shook his head in wonder. "That is amazing. What changed you?" The man answered, "Your words changed me. You taught me a truth. We only receive when we give." That day, I understood. I was never really only a beggar. I was always a trader. I just had to believe it. The two men shook hands, not as poor and rich, not as beggar and giver, but as equals. Then they walked to their trains, each heading to his own future. Life is like the flowers near the tracks. Beauty can grow even in hard places, if we believe it can. If you see yourself as small, you will remain small. If you believe you have nothing, you will always have empty hands. But the moment you see your own value, the moment you decide to give something, even something small, you will begin to receive more. Greatness starts with a thought. And when your thoughts change, your future changes too. If this story touched your heart, give it a like. Share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe for more stories like this. Because sometimes, the right story can change everything.